In the garden kingdom of Alni, after the loss of his wife, King Hanier married the widow Repiara. Florine, his daughter from his first wife, was beautiful and sweet-natured, but Repiara's daughter, Mina, was ugly and foul-tempered. The two girls were of a similar age, and when it was time for them to find husbands, Mina was to be given the first choice. But Cerulean, the handsome young king of Laguna, rejected Mina in favour of Florine. In response, Florine was confined to a tower of the castle, out of sight. King Cerulean eagerly awaited Florine's reappearance. But of course, she was locked away. Not only this, but the guards and servants had been ordered by the queen to speak badly of her whenever he inquired about her. "It cannot be," he said. "Nature could not have put together such a character with so sweet a face." It was quite clear to him that her disappearance and the slander was the doing of Repiara and Mina, and he extended his belief that one's appearance was a reflection of one's character to Mina. The theory seemed to fit, apart from the combination of the beauty and scheming nature of the queen herself. Like many in Alni, it struck him as very odd that Mina had seemingly none of her mother's beauty. But, he reasoned, Florine's beauty was so great and so delicate that the principle remained true. Meanwhile, Florine, locked in the tower, lamented. "If only I had been locked in here before meeting him. Now my heart won't let me think of anything else. I know that Repiara wants the best for Mina. I understand it. And I thank her for soothing father's wounded heart after mother passed away. I shouldn't have let Cerulean see me." With Florine removed from Cerulean's sight, Queen Repiara went to many lengths to win him for her daughter. She arranged many presents for him, including a pendant of a heart-shaped ruby set in gold, surrounded by diamond arrows, but pierced only by one, with the words, "She alone." The pendant hung on a chain of marble-sized pearls. But Repiara didn't hand this gift to Cerulean herself. Instead, she asked one of the servants to do so. The young king was dazzled by it, and when he asked for confirmation of who had sent it, the servant replied that it came from the princess he had met that morning, who requested him to be her knight. Of course, his heart envisioned Florine as the sender, but his gut warned him before accepting the gift. "This was from Florine, wasn't it?" he asked the servant. The servant, who had been instructed by the queen to lie if necessary, felt spellbound by the deep blue eyes of the king of Laguna, and found himself able only to tell the truth. "No, your majesty. In truth it was from Princess Mina." The king bowed slightly. "I see. Then I must apologize, but I cannot accept the honor. I cannot fulfill all the duties of a knight to his lady, and would not wish to become unworthy of Princess Mina's favor." When the servant returned to Repiara and Mina, and handed back the pendant, explaining what had happened, the two of them were furious. The poor servant cringed as they reprimanded him for spoiling the ruse. When Cerulean convened again with them, he approached King Hanier to ask where Florine was. Before he could answer, Repiara interjected, saying that she had been shut away to do penance for wicked disobedience, and would not be allowed out any time soon. Before now, the queen had been able to retain her decorum, but her malice now came through quite clearly. What wickedness could she have done? Wondered King Cerulean aloud. "My dear King Cerulean," replied Repiara, "it is better if you didn't know. I fear for the reputation of our kingdom, if you knew the truth of it." "I assure you, milady, that I would have no part in slandering Princess Florine," he replied. "Of course, my lord, your generous nature does you credit. Even so, I will not speak of it. I assure you, my daughter would honor you as you deserve." "Thank you," Queen Repiara, I will consider your words. Cerulean nodded, bowed slightly, and left the Queen to converse with his entourage from Laguna. Later, when he had retired to the chamber he had been staying in, he spoke in secret with a trusted attendant, who, though not as beautiful as the king, was a fine example of a dashing man of Laguna. He asked him to speak with one of the court ladies, and find one loyal to Florine, to deliver a message to her. It wasn't long before the attendant succeeded in finding such a lady. Through this connection, they were able to arrange for Florine to speak with Cerulean from a small window at the bottom of the tower. But the lady, while she certainly preferred Florine to Mina, was tempted by opportunism, and in the end went to Queen Repiara and reported King Cerulean's plans. The Queen moved very quickly to transfer Florine to another tower, and sent Mina to the window instead. It was a moonless night, and quite cloudy, so Cerulean had only the glow from a few castle windows to see with. But, finding his way to the tower, he saw a veiled silhouette through the lower window. This time, his eagerness to see Florine impaired his usual guile, and, having no inkling that this was Mina, he began making all the tender speeches he had been rehearsing in his head for much of the day, offering her his crown and his heart, and even placing a ring on her finger when Mina extended her hand through the window. As he did this, Cerulean made a pledge of eternal fidelity. He also made her agree to fly with him the following night, in a chariot drawn by winged frogs, of which a great magician, his adviser, had given him as a gift. Mina had been speaking as little as possible to maintain the ruse, and Cerulean was quick to attribute the difference in voice to the acoustics of the tower. When she accepted his offer, he departed in a joyful mood. The following night, Mina, wearing a thick veil, went to meet Cerulean in the arranged place, where he embraced her and vowed to love her forever. Then he lifted her into the chariot, signalled to the frogs, and they rose into the starlit sky. After flying to each border of Alni several times, he commanded the frogs to take them down to the lawn of one of the royal gardens. It was still night, but the lanterns around the gardens illuminated the flowers, and they could hear the trickling of water. But still, especially with her veil, Cerulean believed he had his beloved Florine before him, and he knelt and asked for her hand in marriage. Without hesitating, Mina accepted, her heart fluttering, and pleaded with him that they should marry as soon as possible, in case the Queen tried to thwart them. He agreed, and she told him about her godmother, a fairy, who could perform the ceremony.